What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we're going to take a look and a listen to Representative Larson. He's going to be talking about the Social Security 2100 Act. He was on the Washington Journal on C-SPAN. And I want to show you guys this. I just want to continue to show you that you do have lawmakers that do support the Social Security 2100 Act. They do support an increase for Social Security. And during election season, it is imperative that we know who supports Social Security reform. So it's very important. Anytime we see or hear lawmakers talking about expanding Social Security, that we pay attention and that we show them support, and that we hope that other lawmakers out there will start looking at some of these different proposals and start saying that they support it. Okay. And I've criticized President Biden before when it comes to the Social Security 2100 Act, or when it comes to reform for Social Security as a whole. Just saying we're not going to make cuts to Social Security is not enough. Okay, you have both President Biden and former President Trump saying the same thing. They're not going to make cuts. They're not going to let anyone touch Social Security or Medicare. However, we know that in 9 years, the trust fund will run empty, so we need to reform Social Security. And you have Representative Larson out there with, I think, the best possible plan to pass Congress, because I think you can get some bipartisan support with this proposal, but it's up to us to really let our Congress people know, look, this is something that needs to happen. Reform for Social Security needs to happen. We need to start incorporating some of these things that these lawmakers are out here talking about, some of the different reforms. This is a good one because he's not talking about raising the full retirement age. He's not talking about these other things that would really hamper Social Security and Medicare. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys the clip, but first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And just a reminder, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter and Threads, you can at the TEC Show Live. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play the clip, and then we'll talk a little bit about it at the end. Here we go.
Going back to Social Security, what did you want to add?
Well, here's the deal with Social Security, and this is something I think every American should be upset and focus on. We haven't enhanced Social Security in more than 50 years. What do I mean by that? People say, well, wait a minute, didn't Bob Dole and President Reagan? Yes, they did in 1983, some 40 years ago. They extended the solvency of Social Security by raising the age, but they did not enhance any of the benefits. Today, we have 10,000 baby boomers a day. We will surpass more than 70 million people who are on Social Security next year. And yet, those benefits that were in place when Richard Nixon was president have not been changed. We have a COLA that's inadequate. People haven't received an increase in their Social Security payments. There are more than 5 million fellow Americans who've worked all their lives and get below poverty level payments. There are some 23 million Americans that are paying taxes on Social Security that shouldn't have to do so. And for those who have been prevented through WEP and GPO, government employees, teachers, municipal employees, from getting their benefits, that deserves to be repealed so they're able to get those benefits. For close to 40% of the American people, the only pension they'll have is Social Security. And on average, that's $18,000 per male, $14,000 per female. Living on that amount of money. People aren't going out and buying stock options with this money. They're buying the essentials that they need to survive. And this is why it's so critical. This is why this wealth disparity exists. And again, I commend President Biden for saying, and how about we pay for that too? And how do we do that? We lift the cap on people making more than $400,000. I hold town halls all the time, and every time I go out to a town hall meeting, I say, raise your hand if you're making more than $400,000. Funny thing about it, Brett, no one's ever raised their hand at any of those. point being that even wealthy people understand that if a person making 50, 75, 100, 125,000 is paying throughout the year into Social Security, why shouldn't they? Bill Gates stops paying in January. Millionaires stop paying in February, their Social Security. Somehow, I think when the American people understand this and understand that this will both pay for Social Security, extend its solvency into the future, but provide the benefits that people actually need. And oh, by the way, it's the best economic development plan that we could have for the country. Where do they spend that money? Right back in the district and the communities they live in. And where do they spend it? At the grocery store, at the pharmacy, at the local gas station. They pay for their rent, etc. This is what keeps that's the genius of FDR and what he knew was needed in this great system of capitalism that we operate under. You need to have that balance, that safety net that is actually paid for by people. It's an earned benefit. It is not an entitlement program. People pay for it. And yes, companies pay the other half, but they get a tax write-off for that. So it's the individual who's paid for this, and especially those individuals, 10,000 baby boomers a day becoming eligible are going to be looking at that FICA paycheck and say, wait a minute, this is what I'm getting? You mean this hasn't been adjusted in more than 50 years? Come on, Congress, wake up.
And
vote.
are you taking action in that in Congress?
Yes, well, we've got bill proposals that are out there to do it. We haven't been able to get a vote on it, but we're hoping we will, and we're hoping that viewers and people around the country start saying, hey, wait a minute, this hasn't been adjusted in more than 50 years, and this is what people are actually making. And for 40% of 70, what's that, 28 million Americans, it's the only thing they have. And there are more than 5 million Americans, most women, who've worked all their lives and get below poverty level checks from the federal government. So for Social Security, that's blatantly wrong. It needs to be corrected, and the public ought to be demanding that Congress take action. You got a better idea? Put it out there. We have something we call Social Security 2100 that does all of those things, has an across-the-board increase, repeals WEP and GPO, makes sure that the disability system of Social Security, more veterans rely on that than they do on the VA. And, this is not an entitlement. This is an earned benefit. And this is not anything you're going to get in the private sector. I'm from one of the insurance capitals of the world. I went to the Aetna School of Insurance. They talk about 3 legs on the stool. Those 3 legs being your personal finances, what you've had and what you've been able to put together, and then other assets like your home and pension, et cetera. And the 3rd leg is Social Security, the nation's #1 insurance program, #1 anti-poverty program for the elderly, and until the child tax credit becomes permanent, the #1 anti-poverty program for children.
Congressman John Larson, we appreciate the conversation as always. Thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
Okay, so there was Representative Larson. Now, you saw when he started talking, he was talking about the over 50 years we haven't seen an enhancement to Social Security. And the last reform for Social Security was about 40 years ago, so in 1983. And so, yes, we're past due time where they need to do something about reforming Social Security. And you have some lawmakers that are out there saying, look, Social Security doesn't work. We don't need to reform it. We need to get rid of it. We need to privatize it. We need to, at the very least, raise a full retirement age. But when it comes down to it, what Social Security really needs, they need to reform it, and they need to actually provide enhancements. We need to be looking at an increase for people receiving Social Security, because studies have been done. And I showed you guys a study that they did back in 2000. They went from 2000 to 2023, and they looked at the cost of living adjustment, and they tried to look at the purchasing power that you had back in 2000 when you were receiving Social Security benefits compared to what you had in 2023. And they saw that your purchasing power is $516 less than it was back in 2000. So if you're receiving Social Security benefits right now in 2023 and 2024, you're receiving about $516 less. So it needs to be enhanced. They need to provide some type of an increase because COLA is not doing it. It's not keeping up with inflation. And so when it comes down to it, I'm going to continue to show you different videos of different lawmakers talking about Social Security, good and bad. Because like I said, you have some lawmakers that will talk about reforms that are actually beneficial to people receiving Social Security benefits and to people who are thinking about receiving Social Security benefits. And also Gen Xers, people like me that in 10, 15 years, they're going to be wanting to receive some type of Social Security benefits, and it might not be there for them. They might get that 23% cut because we know what's going to happen in 9 years. Okay, so overall, and I shouldn't have said it might not be there because overall, Social Security will be there even if Congress does nothing. It will still be there, but it will be reduced by about 23%. That's what we're looking at. But the payroll contribution, people who are paying into the pay, whoever's working right now, you're paying into the payroll contribution. Your employer's matching that 6.2%, and that is going to the Social Security Administration. That money will still be there. The money that won't be there is the trust fund. The trust fund will be depleted in about 9 years, and so they won't be able to offset the money that they need bringing from the trust fund. They won't be able to bring that money anymore because it won't be there. And so that's why they need some type of reform. You need to bring in more revenue in order to do that. And the politicians out there right now that are talking about, let's just raise the full retirement age. Let's just raise the full retirement age. And if we have a good economy, guess what? Then that's going to help out when it comes to Social Security benefits. Both those two things are not enough. That's not enough to reform Social Security. We're still going to be looking at the trust fund depleting. It might deplete a little bit slower, but it will still deplete because raising that full retirement age is not going to do it. Unless they're talking about raising the full retirement age to 80 or something crazy like that. But if they're talking about raising it to 69 or 70, that alone is not enough to reform Social Security. So don't let those lawmakers tell you that, yeah, we'll just raise the full retirement age. That's not enough. We need to bring in revenue. They're going to have to look at raising the cap. They're going to have to look at a payroll tax increase across the board, things like that. Those things will actually help reform Social Security. But the other little things they're talking about are taking, let's borrow $1.5 trillion that we don't have and invest that in the stock market and hope that we get good returns so that money can go over to Social Security and help out Social Security. That's not going to work. And that's a huge gamble. A huge gamble because you borrow $1.5 trillion, then guess what? You're paying interest on that $1.5 trillion. So if the stock market takes a dip, let's just say for 6 months, you're still going to you still have to pay the interest on that debt. And so that's going to do that. That'll be the opposite of what we want when it comes to reforming Social Security. The trust fund, someone's going to have to pay for it. So if we're borrowing money, the money's going to have to come from somewhere. And so what I would imagine is that trust fund will have to pay that interest on that loan that we took. And so Senator Cassidy's plan is just not going to work either. So I want to know what you guys think about this. So let me know in the comments below. I still think that Representative Larson has the best plan that's out there right now. Now, I will say some of the things that are in his plan, they do sunset. So they're not going to be forever. But at least we can get things going. And at least we can get, once people start receiving an enhancement to Social Security, it's going to be very hard to take that away. And so because he set it up this way where things do sunset, when I say sunset, what I mean is Congress will have to look at them at future time, okay? And we have that. They do that with different proposals. They did that with the 2017, the tax cuts for the wealthy that, back when former President Trump was president, they did that and it sunsets. It sunsets in 2025. And so they always do that when it comes to proposals. They want to revisit it. That way it's not like forever. You have an opportunity to look at it at a later date. So I want to know what you guys think. So let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.